For the Forest Service trying to turn it back in Wyoming. The Pentagon issues a credit card and some employees go to town. The boy who murdered his teacher gets 28 years in prison. It could have been life. We'll talk to Lance Armstrong tonight on his way to a stunning third win in the world's greatest bicycle race. And ABC's Mike Lee on the road to anywhere, a family vacation that is not for the faint-hearted.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening, everyone. We're going to repeat that headline. The economy is the weakest it has been in 8 years. The government said today that the broadest measure of the economy, the gross domestic product, grew by only 0.7% in the last quarter. In the same quarter last year, it grew 5.7%. ABC's Bob Jamieson is here tonight to explain what is bad about this and what, if anything, is good. Robert?
Peter, the economy barely had a pulse in the second quarter, and the only reason it had a beat at all was because consumers continued to spend despite rising layoffs and an uncertain stock market.
Consumer spending, which is two-thirds of the entire economy, grew by a little more than 2% in the second quarter. Economists say that and a strong housing market are the only reasons the economy grew at all.
The resilient consumer demand is continuing, albeit at a slacker pace than we've seen in prior quarters, but is holding up very nicely.
The big drag on the economy is still the lack of spending by companies on plants and equipment. So-called capital spending, which fell by 14% in the second quarter. Spending on technology plunged by 19%, the worst ever for a quarter. That pain was clear today at JDS Uniphase, a leading maker of components for telecommunications manufacturers. It announced an astounding $50 billion loss for the past year and cut more jobs, a total of 16,000 this year.
Without a return to capital spending growth, we're not going to see a resumption of economic growth to the kind of levels that the economy can grow at.
But at Armin Industries near Chicago, which makes plastic molds and tools for other manufacturers, there won't be any capital spending until customers start ordering again. And they aren't, despite 6 interest rate cuts by the Federal Reserve, which have lowered the cost of borrowing.
We haven't seen any correlation between the Fed cuts and what we're experiencing in our mini economy here.
Armin, which laid off employees for the first time in its 50-year history, would normally spend $2 million this year on new equipment. In the last 12 months, it hasn't spent a penny.
The economy is as tough as I have ever seen it, and I've been involved with the business for nearly 30 years.
The economy seems to be skating on the edge of a recession, but there were some economists who speculated today it would stay above water, buoyed by $40 billion in tax rebates, and, Peter, by what many will believe will be yet another interest rate cut by the Fed next month.
Many thanks, Bob Jamieson. As you, of course, know, there wasn't much change in the stock market in any regard in response to this today. Now we're going to go west. In Wyoming today, the wildfire near Jackson Hole is still burning out of control, despite a huge aerial assault today, which the National Forest Service had hoped would at least slow it down. Hundreds of people have had to be evacuated from their homes. This is now the most threatening wildfire to people so far in the West this year. And there is not much optimism yet. ABC's Judy Muller is there tonight.
It has been a relentless air assault.
I laid in there good.
The largest any firefighter here can remember. 27 planes and helicopters are bombarding this 3,500-acre fire as it creeps toward 100 valuable homes below.
We couldn't hardly put more stuff into the space up there.
But the aircraft can't put out the fire. They can only slow it down. And they have not been able to turn it away from homes.
The question is, how close is it to the subdivision? You can throw a rock to it.
That subdivision is Crescent H Ranch, evacuated 2 days ago. This home belongs to Kay Jones, who can do nothing now but wait anxiously for updates.
We have all the power and the technology to do everything that man can do, but it's when you see the smoke billowing and you see trees igniting, you realize how helpless we really are.
Many homeowners left sprinklers running in an effort to protect their property. But once that fire gets closer, and it will, firefighters will move in and spray these homes with foam and other retardants. Ground crews continue to search for flaming debris or hot spots propelled forward by the main blaze.
What's the danger of spotting?
The fire travels faster. The crews are in greater danger.
Firefighters concede they cannot control this fire anytime soon. The forecast calls for hot, windy weather and not a drop of rain. Judy Muller, ABC News, Jackson Hole, Wyoming.
In the national briefing today, U.S. Airways and United Airlines say they are not going to proceed with a merger. It would have created the world's, the nation's biggest airline. But earlier today, the Justice Department and at least 12 states said they would sue to block the merger because it was bad for consumers. Democratic Congressman Gary Condon of California has given a fourth interview to investigators about the missing intern Chandra Levy. The FBI asked about Miss Levy's lifestyle and her moods so they can develop a profile of her. We learned today that the U.S. may boycott the UN's Conference on Racism next month. The White House says if the agenda includes discussions on reparations for slavery or equating racism with Zionism, it will not send anyone to the meeting in South Africa to represent the United States. In Montana, a military helicopter airlifted what is believed to be the largest dinosaur skull ever found out of a secluded hillside where there were no roads. The skull weighs 3,500 pounds. It's from a Torosaurus, a horned dinosaur that lived about 65 million years ago, and it will go to a museum. In Florida today, a 14-year-old boy was sentenced to 28 years in prison for killing his teacher. Nathaniel Brazil was 13 years old when he committed the crime. He could have been sentenced to life, but he will certainly spend the rest of his youth behind bars. And the question tonight is, will his time in prison help him rejoin society? Here's ABC's Jeffrey Kaufman.
Just 14 years old, Nathaniel Brazil will be 41 when he's released from prison. Prosecutor Mark Shiner wanted the boy locked up for life.
So maybe it's harsh, maybe it's not, but we have an opportunity and we have an obligation to protect our community.
Courts used to treat children more leniently than adults, but in the last decade, new juvenile offender laws have allowed prosecutors and judges to be much tougher.
There are no reliable national numbers, but in Florida last year, more than 3,000 children under the age of 18 were tried in adult court.
We warehouse people. That's all we do. We don't begin to even attempt to rehabilitate anymore.
Professor Stephen Drizzen, who studies juveniles who commit serious crimes, says the system is creating another problem that will come back to haunt society.
What's going to happen when Nathaniel and others like him come back on the streets in 10, 20, or 30 years from now? Are they going to be better able to deal with the stresses that led them into crime in the first place? I doubt it's going to be that way.
David Doy, who runs the Coalition for Juvenile Justice, says you can't raise children in jail.
They are developmentally different than adults, and that's what gives us the opportunity to rehabilitate them. We've thrown that opportunity away for Nathaniel Brazil by trying him as an adult.
Among the evidence, a 1996 study of 5,400 young offenders here in Florida. It found that 30% of children transferred to adult court were rearrested, whereas only 19% of children who went through the juvenile justice system were rearrested. Nathaniel Brazil is already learning the system is hard. His mother, who hadn't hugged him in a year, had a special request for the judge.
Can Mrs. Powell hug your son?
The judge's answer, no. Jeffrey Kaufman, ABC News, West Palm Beach.
In the overseas briefing today, the Italian army is still trying to divert the lava from Mount Etna away from buildings on its slopes. They've had some success, but only some. The volcano is still pumping. In the Middle East, Israeli tanks attacked Palestinian security posts in the Palestinian territories. The army said it was retaliating for a drive-by shooting of an Israeli teenager. A Gallup poll in Israel published today says 46% of Israelis would support a large-scale attack on the Palestinian Authority if violence against Israelis continues. The Secretary of State was in South Korea today, where he said the U.S. would hold talks with North Korea without preconditions. That's a change in U.S. policy, which will be debated when the Secretary gets home. Mr. Powell was in Vietnam yesterday, and the real news from there is just catching up with us. The Secretary cannot sing very well.
My love is strong and it pushes me onward. Down off the hill to Felina I go.
It's the annual dinner in Asia of foreign ministers.
I fell in love with a Vietnamese girl. Blacker than night were the eyes.
That's the Japanese foreign minister.
Evil while casting her spell. Dashing and daring.
That's a State Department official.
Wicked Felina, the girl that I love. down went his hand to
And that's another State Department official.
My challenge was answered in less than a heartbeat, and some young stranger lay dead on the floor. Out through the back door of Roses I ran, out where the horses were tied. Lelina has found me, kissing my cheek as she kneels by my side.
Yes, we repeat, ladies and gentlemen, that is your Secretary of State. On the money trail tonight, the credit card fraud at the Pentagon. When we come back, the American champion on his way to another victory. How on earth does he do it? And on the road to anywhere, the pilgrimage to Pram Pram.
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings, brought to you by Toyota.
People are so in love with their Camrys, they've made it the #1 selling car in America for the 4th straight year, with more repeat buyers than any other car.
Looking for a quiet moment? Get a quieter cookie. Soft, fruit chewy Fig Newtons. Time out from the everyday crunch.
After 26 years of marriage, Tom and I realized that we're a little different from each other, except for one thing. Our doctor says we should both take a single 81 milligram St. Joseph aspirin, the dosage doctors recommend most for aspirin therapy.
When Tony brought me home to meet his mother, she was a little surprised.
She wanted a good Italian wife for him. She got someone who teaches him Yiddish.
We have our differences, it's true.
But we are bonding. She gave me her grandmother's good tablecloth. It survived 2 generations. Now it's up to me.
Tide Deep Clean formula combines an amazing detergent with the power of a pre-treater. It's all you need for the best stain fighting ever.
Married life is great. All 3 of us are having a blast.
Thursday nights are chilly nights at Ladder Company 55. And when it's Wachowski's turn, it's a 5-alarmer. That means heartburn and gas. These don't have the medicine to relieve both, but now there's new Gas X with Maalox, combining the proven heartburn relief of Maalox with the most powerful gas-fighting medicine around to relieve heartburn and gas fast. New Gas X with Maalox beats the burn and the bloat fast.
It looks very much tonight as if the Pentagon may be a victim of fraud involving its own employees. Congressional investigators say that Pentagon employees at least 2 locations have used their Pentagon credit cards to buy hundreds of thousands of dollars of stuff for themselves. Using the cards was supposed to streamline the Pentagon's cumbersome purchasing system. ABC's Linda Douglas follows the money trail.
Government employees bought jewelry, clothes, flowers, DVD players. That is not what the Pentagon had in mind when it gave its employees credit cards like these to buy small office equipment and supplies.
We don't have accountability, we don't have controls, and we don't have responsibility.
The Navy uncovered several cases of credit card fraud and abuse at these 2 small facilities in San Diego, one inside a Navy base. Employees had used government cards to buy $660,000 worth of personal items, including air conditioners, pet supplies, and pizza. Senator Grassley ordered an investigation by the Government Accounting Office, which examined $68 million in credit card purchases at the 2 facilities. They found a significant breakdown in record keeping and even more potentially fraudulent, improper, and abusive transactions. Employees purchased laptops, Palm Pilots, and digital cameras, yet the Navy could not figure out where many of those items went. Some of the purchases were made without documented government need, such as a $100 designer Palm Pilot case and a $400 leather briefcase.
The Defense Department ought to have its financial management system as strongly governed as they do their own troops on the battlefield.
And that is not all. There were $1,500 worth of gift certificates to Nordstrom's and $700 in music CDs from Sam Goody's. A Pentagon spokesman says the credit card program is frequently audited. As problems are revealed, we take action to correct them. The Navy insists those fraud cases are just isolated incidents, but government investigators think they could just be the tip of the iceberg. Linda Douglas, ABC News, Capitol Hill.
There is one item in the medical file tonight. The Food and Drug Administration's influential advisory panel has decided not to recommend a painless flu vaccine for government approval. The vaccine Flumist is inhaled through the nose. The FDA advisors say it clearly protects against the flu, but there are lingering questions of safety. Lance Armstrong is getting closer to victory. That story when we come back.
I like to come here early in the morning, before the rest of the world puts their 2 cents in.
When you have pain and sleeplessness, but worry about taking something, reach for Tylenol PM. It's non-habit forming, stops your pain and helps you sleep, so you can wake up refreshed.
If I don't have a good morning, I don't hold out much hope for the rest of the day.
Take comfort. It's Tylenol PM.
Gentlemen, we can rebuild him. We have the technology. Better than he was before. Better, stronger, faster.
Introducing the all-new 270-horsepower Chevy Trailblazer, the most powerful mid-size sport utility in the world. It's one strong SUV. The new 2002 Chevy Trailblazer, like a rock.
When that pastrami on rye catches up with me, heartburn big time. My passenger says, here, take a Zantac 75. I say, what are you, a doctor? And he says, yeah.
Zantac 75, the heartburn relief doctors trust.
You strive for perfection in the kitchen. Wield highly precise instruments. Test things 500,000 times. Work with tolerances of less than 1/1000th of an inch. You could be making a Delta faucet. Precisely crafted and relentlessly refined, Delta faucets achieve perfection in the kitchen. Even if you can't. Delta, beautifully engineered.
New Maalox Max challenges Mylanta Supreme. Who neutralizes more acid? Maalox Max. Relieves pressure and bloating. Maalox Max. Comes in 3 great new flavors. Maalox Max. 3 ways the right choice is new Maalox Max. Take relief to the max.
I asked my doctor about Lipitor. Have you?
Ask your doctor what Lipitor can do for you and call 1-888-LIPITOR or visit our website to learn more.
Just because you're strong doesn't mean you can't be gentle. That's also true of Imodium AD. Gentler than you thought, effective as you think.
In France today, the American cyclist Lance Armstrong increased his lead in the world's premier bicycle race, the Tour de France. Armstrong is now almost 7 minutes ahead of his nearest rival. He probably put it best himself today when he said, "It's a good time to be Lance Armstrong." The Tour de France is 3 weeks long. It ends in Paris on Sunday. He was pretty tired when we had a brief conversation. Lance Armstrong has always believed that he would win or lose the Tour de France in the mountains. As that stage began, he tried to confuse his competitors.
The first day in the mountains, we decided to look as if we weren't really ready for the event. It was a little bit of a bluff, but again, it's a long race. You can only do that one time.
The mountain stages of the Tour can destroy a rider's chances.
The big differences between, the best riders are the best and the worst riders. Somebody can lose 30 minutes in one day in the mountains.
From the very beginning of the race, Armstrong's main challenger has been Jan Ullrich from Germany. And yet last weekend, when Ullrich crashed on a very steep downhill, Armstrong waited for him to get back on his bike and race again.
I just couldn't imagine taking advantage of a situation like that where another rider either fell or had a flat tire. I think it is part of the etiquette. We basically duked it out for 5 days, and then you know, the mountains were finished, and he extended his hand, and I was a little surprised, but I gladly took it. The public loved it, and it was a good fight.
It was a widely noted gesture. A day or two later, Ullrich said the only way he could beat Armstrong this year was if he had a motor. Armstrong believes that preparation has been the key for him. This man who beat testicular cancer is simply amazing.
I always think about the illness. I'm very proud of the fact that I'm a cancer survivor.
A survivor with a 2-year-old son waiting at the finish line and twin girls on the way. As the racers rushed on today with Paris getting closer, even Armstrong concedes cautiously that he's going to win again for the 3rd time in a row.
I think physically the most important thing is to avoid accidents at this point because we have a comfortable lead, and mentally we're all ready to finish.
Later this evening on Nightline, there'll be more Armstrong. They'll get into what it really means to be the best. When we come back this evening, on the road to anywhere. What are the Americans doing in Pram Pram?
You can skateboard, have fun, but this has more meaning. You're doing something for someone else.
Morning, guys.
Hi.
Hey. Morning. Like to see how your cereals stack up the total?
Sure.
To get the iron in 1 bowl of total, you'll have to eat 2 bowls of cornflakes. For folic acid, try 4 bowls.
That's a really big spoon.
Want zinc? 10 bowls for you.
What's so funny? Nothing.
Nice bowls.
Total has 100% of 11 vitamins and minerals in just 1 bowl.
We'll take the total. Sure. And give Junior the check. What?
Total Raisin Bran, Total Cornflakes. 1 bowl, 100%.
What if you could return your dog back to a healthy weight? Feed her Iams in the blue bag. It allows her to gradually reduce weight by helping turn fat into energy, which could add years of splendid health to her life. Iams, good for today, good for tomorrow, good for life.
I'm every man.
And every woman who ever suffered from frequent, persistent heartburn.
If you've treated your heartburn and changed your diet, but the pain comes back 2 or more days a week, then you may think you know about acid reflux disease.
But there's something about acid reflux that I didn't know.
Over time, that acid churning up can wear away the lining of your esophagus.
I didn't know.
I didn't know.
I didn't.
Now the makers of Prilosec introduced their new purple pill, Nexium. Just 1 prescription Nexium a day gives many people complete resolution of heartburn symptoms.
That could mean complete heartburn relief.
And Nexium is also proven to heal erosions in the esophagus caused by acid reflux. Only a doctor can determine if you have this damage. Other serious stomach conditions may still exist. The most common side effects of Nexium and Prilosec are headache, diarrhea, and abdominal pain. So talk to your doctor and call this number for more information and for a free trial certificate for Nexium.
Relieve the heartburn, heal the damage. It's possible with the new purple pill called Nexium.
Ford says their F-150 is built tough. But our engineers will tell you the GMC Sierra has more horsepower, more towing capacity, and more front headroom and rear legroom. If you want all that from an F-150, well, that is tough. For great offers this summer on remaining 2001 Sierras before they're all gone, hurry to the pros at your GMC dealer today.
I'm Steve Dunn. Coming up next on K2 News, his superiors say he wasn't doing his job when a mother allegedly murdered her own baby. Tonight, the social worker faces possible dismissal. Also, 5 teens are arrested for acts involving a cross burning and racist graffiti at a cemetery and church. And only on 2, exploring the geological mystery of the bulge. K2 News is next.
Finally from us this evening on the road to anywhere. This is the last installment for now from our overseas correspondent, Mike Lee. Mike, as you know, has been wandering around, running into things in a variety of countries. You can see all 5 of his reports on abcnews.com. You can't go anywhere in the world without running into Americans, doing business, having a vacation, not even to the village of Pram Pram in Ghana.
Along this coast, fishermen bring in their catch the old-fashioned way. Boats are carved from a single tree, as they have been for thousands of years. For a few hours each day, the beach becomes a supermarket and the social hub of this village. It's a beautiful place, But like many villages in Ghana and throughout Africa, the people here have little of anything. Not the sort of place where most Americans would spend their holiday. But that's exactly what these people are doing. An unusual vacation. Mixing cement, hauling bricks, working in sweltering heat.
Am I starting on top here for this next layer?
They are among the hundreds of Americans who spend their vacation time and money flying to Africa to do volunteer work.
What does a crab have? A shell. Good.
What are you doing?
I'm letting her listen to her heart.
Among the 24 vacationers in this group, Marcia Chung, a medical student from Boston.
I think it's just a very unique opportunity for me to see something different, very different than anything I've seen before.
And 12-year-old Kevin Doman from Michigan, helping to rebuild a schoolhouse wrecked by a monsoon.
2 years from now, the kids are going to be in here laughing and learning about America, and we're working hard to build this so they can enjoy it.
Working alongside Kevin, his father, Mark, and his mother, Paula.
Say goat. Goat.
It's not for the faint-hearted, but if you want to work hard and really get an incredible cultural experience and feel like you're doing some good in the process, it's a great opportunity.
They live together in a local hotel, eating food cooked by the villagers. The group that brought them here is called Global Volunteers, one of several non-profit agencies that promote volunteer work in Africa and other impoverished areas. There is, of course, a long tradition of Americans donating money, materials, and their labor in developing countries. But it's usually been coupled with religious conversion or political pressure. These Americans, on the other hand, are simply trying to improve the quality of life here. The village elders say the visitors get something in return.
They live here with good memories. At times, some of them live here with tears in their faces.
I'd like to say I'm a do-gooder, but I'm a corporate executive who never really took the time to do some of the things I probably should have been doing. And this is unbelievable. I am so happy to be here.
A vacation to remember. Mike Lee, ABC News, Pram, Ghana.
Thank you for the series, Mike. That's our report on World News Tonight. Just one more thing, a chance for me to say happy August. I'm going to be on the road for the next several weeks, partly for an ABC television series, In Search of America, and a book. And I know we'll meet some of you along the way. And for part of the time, In Search of St. Paul, a special on the man who was central to Christianity as we know it today. And maybe some time on the farm as well. I'll be back come Labor Day. I hope you enjoy the rest of the summer. I'm Peter Jennings. Good night.
ABC's World News Tonight, nominated for more news Emmys than any other nightly news. No wonder more Americans get their news from ABC News.
Tonight, inside the little-known world of female Washington interns.
It's a meat market here.
Young, vulnerable women, politically powerful men. In a game with few rules, just who's watching out for these women? That's what we want to know. 2020 tonight.
Connecting you to your world. This is K2 News.
Good evening from K2. I'm Paul Lindman.
And I'm Steve Dunn. Thank you for joining us. We have some breaking news to tell you about. It is a boating accident. This is a shot from Jet Ranger 2 at the Ridgefield boat ramp along the Lake River. It's at the mouth of the Columbia River near Ridgefield Wildlife Refuge. The boat ran aground just about a half hour ago. The driver has apparently suffered some massive head injuries. Just a short while ago, they pulled him from the boat and took him to the hospital. And again, this is at the Ridgefield boat ramp, the mouth of the Columbia River. That's all the information that we have at this time. As soon as we get more, we'll bring it to you.
This next was breaking news at 5 o'clock. I-5 and 205 closed while a semi-truck driver received medical attention. At this hour, all lanes have reopened, but as we can see from our ODOT camera here, traffic remains backed up. It all happened around 4 this afternoon, northbound on I-5, just south of the I-205 interchange. Police say a truck driver carrying hazardous material thought there was a leak, so he pulled over, blocking parts of the northbound lanes. Hazmat crews, though, say nothing leaked and have reopened all those lanes, but you can expect traffic tie-ups in the northbound lanes and the southbound, as you can see there, for some time to come. Other news, his actions may have contributed to a little girl's death. Now the state moves to fire an employee who